Hi guys, and welcome back to the Uninkable Dads podcast. And today's episode, we're going to be bringing you our flavor text answer from last week. We're going over your listener questions. We'll be looking at the improving the starter decks. We're going to start off with the Amethyst Steel one this week and move on to the Sapphire Ruby next week. We'll be telling you our personal chase cards for set 7, and we'll be introducing you into some new spicy combos.
Illumineers, how you doing today? Listen to the show and learn to play. Whether you are new or you're a pro, I'm sure we have something to show. Amber, green, red, and steel, then purple, blue, complete our wheel. Listen and you'll learn some new strats to help you win some championship mats. So what in color are you gonna choose? Inkable or uninkable? It is up to you.
Did you have an idea on the flavor text from last week? As a reminder, the text was, "She'll never see me as anything but a monster."
So I think I gathered it was Beast.
Mm-hmm.
There's more than one Beast in Lorcana.
There is, yes.
I don't think I got the right one, so you'll let us know which one it was.
Yeah, we actually had a comment on this one. Someone did say it's set 1 Beast, and I said, okay, but there are 2 Beasts in set 1, so can you please narrow down? I was nice. I said green or steel. Then I gave them, narrowed it down, helped them a little bit, and they did come back with the right one, which was Beast Hard-Headed from set 1. This bad boy right here. So, as you said at the bottom, it was a book type that we went through last time, which was, "She'll never see me as anything but a monster." So, this week's one, I will give you a little hint now, will be a song. So, stick around at the end for that. So, this week's, let's jump into our listener question. So, we had a question. Do you ever think we will see Rush singers? Now, we have Rush characters in the way of challenging. We have Prince Naveen that lets you play a song for free. But do you think we'll ever see Rush singers? So something that hits the board and can sing the turn it's played.
That's a really interesting idea. I was just trying to, as you were saying it, work out in my head what you call it.
Yeah, same. I've been trying to work it out the last couple of days. I had one and I didn't write it down, and now I'm really annoyed with myself that I didn't write it down when I thought of it.
It'd be a really interesting mechanic, wouldn't it?
Mm. Yeah, it's like Aerial, obviously you play it and you can search for 4 cards, or instead of searching those 4 cards, like you play it and then you can sing something in your hand straight away. I suppose Prince Naveen's pretty much that, but he doesn't exert himself. He just, he just comes on the board and plays that song for free. But if you could play it and then it has to exert to then sing, could be quite powerful. But yeah, I thought it was quite an interesting question. If anyone's got any ideas of what you'd name that ability, because you couldn't just call it Rush, and Rush Singer doesn't really work. You'd need another name, wouldn't you? So if you can got any ideas, drop us a comment below or email us at the uninkabledads@outlook.com. But yeah, so moving on to the next question, we have, if you could banish one card from Lorcana forever, so give it the ban hammer, what would it be and why?
Wow, that's a great question.
That's a tough one. I'll go first because I had a little bit longer to think on this, because obviously I should have given you these questions earlier, but I actually went for Sisu. Imperial, I think it's Imperial Warrior, I believe. I could be wrong on that. It's the big Sisu. If the name's wrong, it's the big one, the 8-cost one. The reason for that is mainly because I think it could open up so many more decks into the meta currently. There's a lot of decks that just don't see play because they just instantly get wiped to that card. So as much, I don't really mind it. I built my decks to survive Sisu. Obviously, we're going into a Sisu Sapphire coil possible issue coming up, but nevertheless, currently I don't mind it too much, but I feel like it would open up more plays and more decks that are possible if that card didn't exist. So, or they have said be banished forever, but it's basically had the ban hammer on it. But yeah, what are your thoughts?
Interesting. I mean, one of the things to say is that Lorcana is such a well-balanced game. It's such a well-designed game that really there's nothing. Maui Half Shark annoys me a lot when I have to play against it, but there's nothing in the game that is really that much of a problem that it needs to be banned. But to be honest, from my personal experience, I'd ban Rapunzel, actually. That's purely because I walk into Rapunzel so much when I'm playing against Amber Steel.
Always forget to
it's been my
not leave
downfall.
damage.
Yeah, been my downfall a number of times, and it's been a bit of a kryptonite deck for me playing against as well at times. So yeah,
I can see that. See, I was hoping you were going to say Be Prepared, but I know as a Ruby Amethyst player, that's one of your favourite cards. You want to play that at 2 turns earlier, not get rid of it.
Absolutely.
So the last one. Now, this one will make you think. If you were allowed to have one extra card, so going up to 5, of only one card in your deck, what would it be? So everything else is a 4 of, apart from one card. One card you're allowed that one extra of. That is... It's situational to deck, obviously.
I was going to say, you got to start with the deck, right? So, I mean, if I'm going Ruby, Amethyst, maybe Fox, to be honest. So much versatility, Adam in Fox, for bouncing stuff, for challenging aggro early game, for bouncing stuff later game. So yeah, I know. I don't think I'd ever not want to see a Fox in my hand, kind of thing. It's inkable as well. What about yourself?
Again, it is deck, specific. But if I was playing Green Steel or... Well, actually, no, not so much Green Steel, but anything else with Steel, I'd just add another Pete. You can't get wrong with Pete. He's a 4 of him any Steel deck, so having that extra one would be quite nice. The reason I say not so much in Green Steel is because I'm the odd one out that runs the Bippity Boppity just to get Pete to re-sing and replay himself. So you wouldn't really need it in there, but in like Purple Steel or my Red Steel deck, if I could add another Pete, I'd definitely add another Pete. So I think it's a solid go-to card. So
what would Doc do as a 5 of? He's uninkable, so it's not quite the bang obvious one.
Yeah.
But he's drawing your cards all the time. You can always play him as a body, would he?
Yeah, I think Doc would work as long as your opponent didn't know you had 5. So like, if they've seen 3 of them, they're probably thinking, right, the chances of him hitting the 4th here is unlikely. And then you hit a 4th and they're like, right, no more Docs. And then you hit another Doc. It'd just be like, what? But yeah, I mean, let's be honest, you'd never be able to police it because you'd have to go through everyone's deck after every game to make sure they only had 1 or 5. But it's a good concept. I like the concept. I think there's definitely going to be more cards in the future that only allow you to have 1 or 2 of, which I think will... there's a couple that we'll discuss later in the episode. But, I can see that happening, but not the other way, unfortunately, because it'd just be too much of a nightmare to keep an eye on. So, but yeah, that was our listener questions. So this week we have been improving the Set 7 Amethyst Steel starter deck, and when I say we, that's not me, that's more Glenn. So I will allow you to talk us through this and what you've done with this, and I will bring you the Ruby Sapphire one next week. So over to you.
Cool. So Purple Steel is a deck that I've played a bit in Set 6 and sort of really enjoyed. So really pleased to see it coming out as a starter deck. So looking at this starter deck, what I've tried to do is to say how I would improve it, thinking of doing it on a budget. And so what I've done is I've tried to take the core of what this deck is trying to do and start there and see if I can expand on it. So this is the starter deck list as it comes in the box up on screen now. And what this deck is really focused around is the Jafar, the dual link Jafar. And Jafar has an ability that when he's on the board, If any of your illusion characters are banished, then they return back to your hand. And this starter deck actually comes with, I think it, and you'll correct me if I'm wrong, but I think it's the only 3 illusion characters that have been released in Lorcana as yet, and they're all in this deck. So we've got some illusion characters that can trigger this effect off of Jafar. The illusion characters are all overstatted, so they're pretty decent cards themselves, and if we're going to get them back in our hand, it's not hurting us as much as if they're going into the discard pile. So yeah, if you move on to the next image, so these are those cards that play into that core of the deck. So you've got Jafar himself, you've got Iago, who is a 4/6 evasive illusion. You've got Giant Cobra, who is a 3-cost 4/4. He quests for 1, but he's also got an ability on him that when you play him, you can discard a card and gain 2 lore. So he gives us some nice reach, potentially late game, great stats. And then Raja, he's a 2-cost 3/3 illusion. So these are your illusions. You're getting some nice big stats on the board. And then we've got Treasure Guardian. So he is a 4-cost 3/3, quest for 2, but his ability, which I can't read here because it's too small, so I'll have to try and remember it.
If you have
an illusion on board, yeah. If you have an illusion on board, you draw a card. I was trying to remember if it's for each illusion. I think it's if you have an illusion, you draw a card. So playing into that illusion core. Bit of card draw there, and then Farzu, I think that's how he's pronounced. He's really interesting. Again, very small for my eyes, but I believe it's a
whenever
3-cost.
One of your characters challenge the second challenge gains 3 lore, but it has to be on a character. The second challenge.
Yeah. So yeah, we've got some big stats here. We're also in a minute going to add in some things that like to challenge. So the idea being that, yeah, again, he could give us a nice bit of reach where we could make a couple of challenges on a turn and gain 3 lore. And then I've looked at the other cards that come in the starter deck and said, are there any cards here that I just think are good enough to stay? You know, they may not play completely into what we're doing, but we're looking to build this on a budget. So the biggest budget way of doing it is keeping the cards that come in the box. So we've got a few here. We've got the Jafar there, who gives another character Challenger +2 when he comes down, I believe. We've got Panic High Strung Imp, so he allows you to move 2 damage from one of your characters to an opposing character. He also quests for 2. There's 1 copy of Restoring Crown. It's a little bit of a clunky card, but I think as a one-of, so you can stay in the deck. Very powerful effect. It's an action card, 6-cost uninkable, and it says exert all of your opponent's characters. And then, again, I'm doing it from memory, but I think it's when you banish an opposing character, you gain 2 lore. So it's the Calhoun effect, but for every character on board, basically. So you're going to exert everything, and you're going to kind of take some challenges and finish off the game is the idea of that. And then Magical Maneuvers is another action card. It's inkable, it's 2 cost. When you play it, you exert one of your opponent's characters and you bounce one of your characters back to hand. So those ones are staying. And then, if we go on to the next one. So we kept 21 cards, I think, in the end out of the original starter deck. And then those cards that I said were sort of core to the theme of the deck, we're going to bump them all up to 4-ofs. Obviously, Jafar is your super rare, so that might be the harder card to get hold of. Iago is a rare, but the rest of them are all uncommons.
Typically, the starter deck supers don't end up going that high in price, do they? Because they're in the starter deck themselves, so they shouldn't be too hard to get hold of.
And then what we've done is I've looked to just now sort of fill it out with some good cards in this colour combination. So Calhoun and Smee, probably the best 2 drops in the game, and we get them both in this colour combination. Calhoun really fits in again with wanting to challenge. Smee is a good body, so can challenge, but questing for 2 is his main aim here. Madam Min Fox, she can rush in, bounce something back. Maybe one of those big illusions has challenged into something, taking a favourable trade, and you want to put the illusion back in your hand to protect it. But also bouncing Rabbit. And here we have to draw us some cards. We've got a Captain Hook, again playing into these. He's got Challenger, so he plays into the being able to challenge, but he also, being a captain, he keeps Smee safe so that Smee doesn't take the damage at the end of the turn. Got 3 Along Came Zeus for our removal. So, we've got Rabbit, we've got Jafar and some other things that can sing Along Came Zeus. Along Came Zeus takes care of a lot of things in the game, including Maui Sharks. And then the library, because if we're going to do, if we're potentially going to be doing some challenging, and if we've got these illusion characters, which are slightly fragile because any action played against them banishes them, then we can put things into the library, and then at least if they're banished, we draw a card anyway. So nice. That was the idea of the deck. I don't think there's anything there that's particularly expensive. Your Calhouns, your Madam Mim Fox, Long Came Zeus, they'll cost you a little bit, but they're not, these are not. I think Calhoun's about £6 currently in the UK. Madam Mim Fox is about £2 or £3 a piece. So nothing in here is particularly going to blow a budget. And I think it gives you, a coherent deck that can do a bit of everything. It's got stuff that can quest, it's got card draw, it's got stuff that can challenge, and some synergy between the cards.
Yeah, no, very nice. I mean, like you say, it's quite easy. You could add things into this, like you could go for Tragic Heroic Beast and stuff like that, but then you're looking at like £25 cards, which then obviously defeats the objective.
Yeah. Absolutely. If you just go on to the next, I think we've got one more slide here.
Oh, sorry.
Yeah, so this was the final list, and I'm sure we can manage to sort of post that below. And then if we go on to the last one, yeah, so I put these down as honourable mentions. So although I haven't included Beast Tragic Hero in here, but as you sort of said, there's lots of really good cards in Purple Steel. So you could take this the more aggro route if you want to include like things like the Maleficents in there. You've got Doc, which is a faster sort of lower to the ground card draw. The one that probably should be in the list that I created actually is Pete. To be honest, I kind of missed him. He should probably be in there because he stops action, so he's going to protect your illusion characters a bit longer. But yeah, lots and lots of really good cards. So you can buy that starter deck if you're new to the game, or if you're looking to get into Purple Steel and you haven't got many cards, you can buy that starter deck. You can upgrade it on a budget, and then as you can get hold of some of these other cards, you can take the deck into whatever direction you want to go. If you want to go more aggro, if you want to go more sort of mid-range, if you want to go more songs sort of control orientated, then there's plenty of options.
Makes sense. I'd like to say, I think it to be honest, it works out as quite a reasonable and quite a strong deck, to be fair. And like you say, it's a relatively low to the ground cost wise. You're not adding any supers into here. You're not adding any, obviously, apart from the ones that Jafar's, but you're not adding any extra supers into here or legendary, so it stays relatively low for everyone. Okay, so we will lead on to our personal chase cards for set 7. Now, these are the cards that we're hoping to get to complete our day 1 decks. Mine has changed slightly from the last episode, not by a lot, but it has a little bit. I believe so is Glenn's and Lily's, so we will have a quick look. So the cards I'm aiming for, hopefully, to get for my day 1, is going to be Mulan first, which is whenever you play this character, you may draw a card and choose and discard a card. Obviously, Ruby Amethyst. So used to saying Ruby Amethyst, not used to saying Ruby Steel. Ruby Steel doesn't have great card draw. Everyone knows this. It's the biggest issue with the deck. So this is going to help out massively with that. Just trying to find your turn 2, your turn 3 if you don't have it in hand already. Then next up is Li Shang. This character can challenge ready characters. While this character has no damage, or has damage, sorry, he gets +2 strength. So he's a 3-cost uninkable 2/3. I've done a little bit of testing with this, and it seems good. I gotta admit, it's quite nice. There's also the promo one, which is in the league, which would be quite nice to stick in my deck. But yeah, from the testing I've done, this works quite well. It's a little bit of threat. Like if you can get Callahan down and play this turn, the next turn, it means that if they've got anything quested, you could take that out and then threaten whatever they play on the board straight away as well. So it's been quite nice in testing. So that would be one for me to look out for. Going into it next, it's one of those ones that we were talking about in the starter deck, which is whenever, I'm not even going to try and, War Hero, I'm going to call him, because there's no way I'm getting his first name right. So we're looking for War Hero here, which is 3-cost, inkable, 2/3, and his ability is training exercises. Whenever one of your characters challenges another character, if it's the second challenge this turn, gain 3 lore. Double Callahan with this is just so good. I've been gaining like 7 lore a turn, if not more. It's been so good. So yeah, this is 100% going to be I think it's 4 of in my deck, and I will be looking for 4 of on day 1. So I'm hoping I can get those. How many are in the starter deck?
Nice combo. Off the top of my head, maybe 2.
Well, at least if I get desperate, I know I can get them in the starter deck. So yeah, there's some broken combos with this, isn't there?
So he combos well with Callahan, combos well with Calhoun as well.
Mm-hmm. And
you can use either one of those.
And Robin Hood. Which are all in my deck.
He's really.
I think he's he was a bit slept on to begin with. It's like I overlooked him to begin with, and then I looked at it again and thought I actually challenge more than once in a turn quite often. This is actually going to be pretty good. Going on for there is the other rare card, which is Mushu. It's the 5-cost Inkable 4/4. Whenever one of your characters challenged, they gain resist 2, which has been so nice with Callahan having resist 3 on every challenge. It's been a bit broken, to be honest. And then during your turn, whenever one of your characters banishes a character, you gain 2 lore. So this and Callahan, and it's been again so nice. You a free, basically a free 5 that gains 4 lore when you banish a character. It's been working quite well. So that is definitely a 4 of, and I will be looking for that one. The next one is one of those ones that I may. It's one of, if I pull it, great. If I don't, I'm not going to go out and like purposely try and find it. There is replacements that I can put into the deck. You do have the Pluto bodyguard, and you do have Champo that I could be putting in, but I would like to put this in and test it because I think it could work really well. Which is Bagheera, which is 5-cost Inkable 4/3, cost for 2. He's a bodyguard. And during your opponent's turn, whenever this character is banished, deal 2 damage to each opposing character.
So I got really excited about this when I first saw this card, and I was like, "Oh, that's got to go straight in the deck in my purple steel deck." And if I play Sapphire Steel, it's going straight in the deck. But the more I've thought about it, and the more I've looked at what I think the other decks early in the meta will be, I'm sort of less enamored with him. But I could be completely and utterly wrong. But I think we're talking, because we're talking coming down on 5, and I think we're talking, and it's on your opponent's turn, so he's, maybe being banished on their turn 5, but possibly on their turn 6. We're probably talking about some fairly chunky characters on board, so I'm not sure that his ability necessarily actually banishes any characters. It potentially just leaves some damage lying around.
Yeah, the one thing I found quite nice with it is when they swing Maui Hero to All into it, it then causes it to trade afterwards because of the 2 damage. Apart from that, it's not been as good as I was hoping it. I don't get me wrong, I've only tested about 3 different decks, and so far they haven't had enough characters on board at that moment, and I think that comes down to the deck it's in. For me, is a very challenge heavy deck, so I'm not leaving anything on board anyway. So it's one of those ones I'm thinking of moving bodyguard altogether, because most of the time I'm not leaving them anything to challenge me with in the first place. There's a lot of ways for me to be able to challenge ready characters, so I'm wiping the board before they get a chance to react. If I'm needing a bodyguard, I'm probably in a losing position. So I think this is space in my deck, but I would like to try it. So I think it's definitely going to go in to begin with, but I can see it being cuttable, 100%. It's one of those flex spots that I think is potentially going to be changed out. So from there, we'll move on to Glenn's Choice cards.
Yeah, so this is for my purple steel deck. There's not much changes to it, to be honest, but the cards that we have got for it, I think, really do take it to another level. So we've got Giant Cobra first, and this was a card that I saw it, got excited about, then wasn't so excited about, and now I've got more excited about. So this is a 3-cost dual link card in purple steel. It's a 4/4 body So it's a big body for 3 cost. It quests for 1, but when you play this character, you may choose and discard a card to gain 2 lore. Being an illusion, it has the vanish ability, so when an opponent chooses this character for an action, it's banished. So it's slightly fragile, but that ability to allow you to burn lore for discarding a card, at first I wasn't so sure about that because you haven't got an abundance of card draw in this deck, so discarding a card feels quite heavy, but actually you can play this early on just as the body. It's a May ability, you don't have to discard a card and get 2 lore, so you can play it if you need a body early on, you don't want to discard a card, it can do that job. Also, later in the game, it can get you over the line. It's better than goat in a way. In that, well, it's the same as a goat bounce, isn't it? Really.
Yeah.
But you don't need so much ink for goat. Goat, you would need the 2 cards. You need you need to play goat, then you need to play something that bounces goat. So this you play this and you discard something. So it's 2 cards, but you don't need 6 ink to be able to do it.
No, that's very nice. The fun fact with this card. And so if I pop quiz for you on rules, if I choose this card with "We Don't Talk About Bruno," what happens?
So this is triggers into the bag. Oh, let me see if I can get this one because I never get the details of the rules right. So you choose the card with "We Don't Talk About Bruno." So there's 2 triggers, right? So there's the trigger of vanish, which means this card would disappear from play into the discard pile. There's the Bruno trigger, which says that the card gets returned to hand and then I discard a random card. So you're playing Bruno, so Bruno's effect has to fully resolve first before going to the bag, which would mean that this would have to return to hand.
I believe. I will check this and I'll comment on the video if I'm wrong. But I'm pretty sure this gets banished before Bruno can discard it. This doesn't go into the bag. So Bruno goes into the bag. This basically then gets banished. So then when Bruno goes to use the ability from the bag, there's no card to then pick because that card no longer exists. It's already been banished. So therefore, Bruno just ends there.
Yeah, and at least one of us knows the rules. So, stay tuned in. Like and subscribe so you don't miss videos, and listen to Michael, not me.
Yeah, well, I bring you possible useful facts. They might not be, but you never know.
Panic, High Strung Imp. This is one I think is interesting, and I want to test with it. I haven't had as much opportunity to test. I know you've been testing quite a bit over the last few days, but it's interesting. It's inkable. Which is always a start. 4 cost 2/3 quest for 2, and you can move 2 damage counters from chosen character to chosen opposing character. Yeah, it's one that I think time will tell on this one, but it looks an interesting card, so it's definitely one that I'm going to test with early on. It's a common, so hopefully easy enough for people to pick up.
No, nice.
And I've got the same Bagheera as you had earlier. But as we said earlier, I kind of gone, I need to get hold of that. That needs to go in the deck immediately. And then as I've sort of looked at, I'm not sure he's actually in the deck anyway, because I think I'm going back to Pluto as a bodyguard for the fact that Pluto comes in on 4 rather than 5. It makes
it nice and easy for you because you're after a common and uncommon to get your deck up and running to begin with, so it's always a good start. I've put myself a slightly more challenging thing, but we'll see. Millie and Lily's to chase, say 3 cards that they're after. Slight difference, not so much. 2 of the cards are the same, so you have Pascal and Snow White, and then Gloss Slipper, which I wasn't expecting. So do you want to talk us through this one?
So again, this is one that's going to need a bit of testing, and we have to see how Lily gets on with it. But the idea is this is going into a Amber Amethyst aggro deck. So we've got lots of characters that can quest really quickly. But one of the downsides to some of these aggro decks is that they can sometimes run out of steam at the end. When some of the control decks get into the later stages of the game, you're not able to keep cards on board to actually be able to quest when they're dried. So you're looking for a bit of reach to get you over the line, and this is potentially that reach. So you can only have 2 copies of the glass slipper in your deck. You banish the item, you tap one of your princess characters, search your deck for a princess card, and reveal it to all players. Put that card in your hand and shuffle your deck. That ability we're not actually playing. So this is, to trigger this, we need a card that I haven't put on the other screen, which would probably help explain it a bit more, wouldn't it? But to trigger this, we need the new Cinderella, which basically allows you to get this back out of your discard. And if you do so, gain 3 lore.
Yeah, so to go along with that, we've just brought it back into it now. So it's this Cinderella here. So when you play... Go on, sorry.
When you play this character, you put an item card named the Glass Slipper from your discard onto the bottom of your deck and gain 3 lore.
Nice, and she's a princess, so you can actually find Cinderella, right?
You need a prince.
Yeah, so if she's got a prince down on board, which could be Simba.
Could be Simba,
she
indeed.
could banish this, exert Simba, so then go and find Cinderella, play Cinderella, gain 3 lore.
Yep, absolutely.
Nice, I like it. That's stepping it up definitely for her. I think that's adding another layer of the game that, you know, she's got to think about. So I think that could do her really well with it. If she can get that sort of combo into her head, that will obviously do her massive favour going forward, learning the more complicated ones that, you know, can come with, like Red Blue, for instance. So with Millie's one, I decided to go a little bit more simpler. So I've just gone for the Coda. I've gone Coda. He's a 3-cost Inkable 2/2 quest for free. Play this on board. If you don't answer it, I'm going to gain 3 lore, basically. So yeah, and then I've gone with Pascal and Snow White as well. So these are all uncommon, so I'm hoping I should be able to get these relatively easy for day one. But yeah, that's our chase cards that we are after for the next set. So comment below. This will be out end of this week, so just before set 7. So, you know, feel free to listen to us while you're opening your packs and then let us know. Drop us a message and let us know, how did you get on? Did you get the card you were after? Or was you a little bit unlucky? But yeah, be interesting to know what cards people are after. So, you know, let us know.
Yeah, absolutely. And have you spotted something that is that should be a chase card that we haven't spoken about as yet?
That's probably more likely. We've probably missed something completely. So, talking about chase cards, let's go on. So, we're bringing you, going forward in future episodes, today's one's going to be a little bit of a silly one. We are going to be starting something new called Spicy Combos. So, our Spicy Combos are going to be something that's a little bit silly in ways sometimes. They're going to be completely unplayable. Some of them may be 5 or 6 card combos that you're never going to pull off, but it would be extremely spicy if you did. There will be some good ones that are doable, but the chances are most of them are probably going to be a little bit silly. So talking about a little bit silly, we will go down the road of bringing you the very first one. For some reason,
and if you do try these and you pull any of these off, playing at your locals or whatever, let us know. Drop us a 100%. Comment. We look forward to seeing those.
So for this week's spicy combo, we are going with the ultimate chicken sandwich or burger. So if you're going to have an ultimate chicken burger, you got to grab some hey, some not so tricky chicken. And every single chicken burger needs some Monterey Jack cheese. So we'll slap some of that in there. And then once you stick that in a brioche bun and chuck in some barbecue sauce, you've got yourself an ultimate chicken burger. So like I say, just awesome. A very silly one. But it was one that was getting floating around on Discord, and it made me laugh. So I couldn't help myself.
There's not much meat on that chicken burger with that scrawny hey, is there?
No. But he is definitely a boat snack. It's not a full-on burger. But yeah, we will bring you some more, slightly more serious ones in future episodes. But we wanted to introduce the spicy combos coming up. So talking about coming up, possibly next week. I'm not going to say 100% because we are waiting. He is a very busy man, but we're hoping to have a special guest on next week. We're going to do a separate interview, which we will probably record separately, and then we'll edit into this video just so that way it's a little bit smoother for you guys. So we'll have an interview with a very special person next week. We're hoping to pick his brains with some Sapphire steel decks that might give you a little hint of who we're talking about, and see what he's thinking of Set 7, because I think he's quite excited. So that could be quite good, and we'll see where we go from there.
Yeah, so if you've got any questions that you would like to ask someone who's quite accomplished with Sapphire Steel, obviously do drop them in the comments so we can have a look at those, and we'll see if we can put those in.
Yeah. So for the last thing for this week's episode, we have got our flavor text game as always. So going in from there, like I said at the start of the episode, this is a song. So it's a song type, which means it is a song. I believe all song types are on song cards. And the flavor text for this one is the cards will tell. So comment below or drop us an email at uninkabledads@outlook.com and let us know what you think. Like I say, we've narrowed it down quite a bit for you this week. We've let you know it's a song. You know, that's going to knock, 3/4 of the pack out. So, you should have a relatively good chance of finding it.
Yeah. Walk around the house singing those words a few times. Try them in different tempos. See if you can get the song, and then go and find the card.
Yeah. Or ask your smart home device to play Disney songs and see if you can find that song. Just keep going next track till you find it. It'll be there somewhere. So, yeah. Thank you very much for tuning in to the podcast this week, and I hope you had an amazing time. And thank you very much, Glenn, and we will see you on the next one.
Cool. See you next time.
Illumineers, how you doing today? Listen to the show and learn to play. Whether you are new or you're a pro, I'm sure we have something to show. Amber, green, red, and steel, then purple, blue, complete our wheel. Listen and you'll learn some new strats to help you win some championship mats. So what in color are you gonna choose? Inkable or uninkable? It is up to you. So what in color are you gonna choose?